It is a well-known fact that effects tend to cut the lower frequencies of your instrument. If you are an electric guitar player, this doesn't really matter, as these frequencies aren't missed. If, however, you are a bass player that is getting into effects, either you have to be very careful with the effects you choose to make sure they retain the full frequency of your instrument, or you need to sacrifice the core essence of what your job is to create bottom end. What are you supposed to do in this instance? Is there a solution? Is there a fix? Or are you just supposed to throw in the towel and resign yourself to the fact that your instrument will never sound the same if you want to start using effects? Today, we are talking about the bass interfacer, a pedal designed to allow you to keep the bottom end of your bass guitar intact while also using effects layered on top. The secret to this, 2 individual loops run in parallel. The bass interfacer has 2 loops, a clean loop and an effects loop. The clean loop is designed for things that will not cut the bottom end. Things like a bass compressor, maybe a Sans amp, and a volume pedal. The effects loop is designed for everything else. Maybe a synth pedal, a fuzz, overdrive, maybe even a pog. There are 2 ways of running the effects send. From the factory, out of the box, the input of the bass interfacer will go straight to the effects send and all of those pedals that are layered on top of the clean loop. However, if you would like your signal chain to instead go input all the way to your clean send and your clean effects, back to interfacer, and then to your effects send, you can do that by opening up the pedal and changing some dip switches. There are 2 mutes on board the bass interfacer. One is dedicated and solely designed for the effects loop, the other for the clean loop. This way you can interchange which sounds you want to use at any time. As an example, you could use just your effects loop for a verse, and then you head into a chorus and kick on your clean loop and bring that bottom end back into your sound. You can use it dynamically, you can hit both to do a master mute, and you can interchange them as you see fit. The bass interfacer also has a tuner output. So no matter what state the mutes are in, your tuner will always receive signal whether they are on or off. The bass interfacer also has a white push button on board. This is for mixing the effects and the clean loops together, most importantly though, in parallel. This means whether you are running 2 separate lines, an effects out and a clean out, or you have summed or mixed the effects and the clean together to the clean out, they will always be in parallel, which means they will always retain the bottom end of your bass guitar, which is why you have this unit in the first place. It's important to note whenever you're running effects in parallel, you can very quickly run into phase issues. If these 2 loops are ever out of phase, we have you covered. Hit the black push button, which is right beside the white sum push button, and it will invert the phase on the effects loop, and you will now be back in phase with your 2 parallel lines, your clean and your effects. Again, it doesn't matter if you are summed, running your effects and your clean in parallel to the clean output, or if you are split, running 2 dedicated outputs, effects and clean, that phase push button will work regardless. The bass interfacer is for bass players that love to use effects but want to retain the bottom end of their instrument. There are a lot of uses for it, and you can interchange and figure out the best way that works for you. We'll see you next week.